Hello, and welcome back to this episode of The Inner Estate with your host, Bridget Stuart. Our guest today is Jeff Wheatley, an amazing agent and leader in the real estate industry in DC and Virginia. Jeff, thank you for being our guest.
Bridget, thank you for having me. I'm excited to get together today.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm also excited because we're diving into something that it can be a complete game changer. You are a big believer and you're living it every day through the success you've built, that if you master your morning, you actually master your life. And you have just embodied this, and you are going to share with us how others could really take control of their mornings, and it would actually give them freedom. Could you share more what that means to you, like mastering your morning? What does that mean to you?
Absolutely. So it means that we're going to control our day by getting all the hard things, all the important things out of the way, done, and have those successes before noon so that we can go in and let our day kind of naturally flow after that. And so I've been living this for, I think about 17 years ago. I was kind of influenced by Mike Ferry, and then I pulled a guy, Joe Jones, out of a great agent out of Orlando, Florida. Him and I got together. We started our mornings at 7 o'clock every morning, role playing 5 days a week. And that habit, just in terms of getting up and getting after it early and starting with the most important things, it's changed. I'm not doing role playing at the beginning of my morning, but we're getting the hard things, the important things done early.
And what kind of difference does that make? Give us a few examples.
So right now, my role has much more shifted to leadership. So it is getting my agents ready for their day, making sure that they understand what they're trying to achieve, being there for them, and making sure that we're showing up so they're showing up. So it's really leading by example. Maybe I'm reaching out to some recruits in the marketplace. I'm helping somebody through some scripting, but we're getting after it very early so that everybody knows that we can eat that apple first.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's really critical. When you think about the morning, what are the key reasons why you feel like you've got to do that in the morning? So why not say
it's absolutely when my energy is the most. So I get natural energy out of collaborating. Like you and I here today, we're collaborating. If I'm doing some writing, something of that nature, I always put that for the afternoon because I get energy from writing. I get energy from collaborating with other people. So I'll stack all those meetings with the folks that I already know that we're going to get energy from for the afternoon. But for those people, like maybe I'm reaching an agent I've never met before, or I'm working through a tough problem with one of my agents that's going to take me a little bit more energy. It's much more important that I hit that very early and can kind of power through it. So I'll typically work out in the morning, then I'll come in, I'll make my first calls, and I'll work with my agents. But being able to have that energy for those things that are a little bit more strategic and may cost me a little bit more money or more energy, I'd rather have those done in the morning.
in the morning? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, you and I, our chosen industry is real estate. However, what we're discussing, this crosses all industry. In my experience working with leaders and sales people in other industries like pharmaceutical sales or insurance, this applies for all of them. Would you agree that if you really dominate and control your mornings, that you are going to be more successful, whether you're in our chosen industry or any industry?
Absolutely. So you and I have some history that both of us went into corporate America. I was on the consulting side prior to being in real estate, and absolutely love that as a career. And some of my most productive time is when I was on your time schedule. I was living in Maryland, but I was working in LA, and I would fly in. I would be in at 10 a.m. On the morning flight, and could still get more done than my people back on the East Coast, just because I was ready after it as soon as I got in, and then getting up when everybody else was still in bed on the East Coast. I absolutely love that. So
I
it's
love
just
it too.
little bit of a time where I was just absolutely on it because of that extra 3 hours that you gain out there that I'm a little bit jealous of.
Yes, I love it. Yeah, those of you that don't know, I live in Arizona and I operate on an East Coast schedule. So I start at 5 a.m. And one of the worst things for me is when I'm staying back east visiting family and I have to work on the Eastern time, I'm like, I can't start till 8 and I have to work till 6. What? It's so hard for me to do that because I just am so trained with the early morning. So, okay, Jeff, the people that are still listening, but let's just say that someone is sitting there and they're like, but I'm not a morning person. I'm a night owl and I can't get up and I need to ease into the day. And then so what would you say to someone who is um, suffering from that type of limiting belief?
So first I would ask them if their schedule is actually working for them. And if it's not, then be open to some coaching that it may be the redirect to getting up a little bit earlier. At the end of the day, the most important thing, though, is that we have that time that we control as soon as we get up. And we've figured a way, whether it's environmental by getting up early or by shutting our phones off or whatever, that we control that first 4 or 5 hours of the day.
Yes.
That you're not getting interrupted when you're going to the gym, that you're not getting interrupted when you're making your first calls of the day, whether you're a consultant like I used to do and making my outbound calls then, touching my executives then, or whether you're in real estate making your phone calls to maybe it's following up on a client or trying to get them back engaged in a situation in a contract. It's so important to have that one-on-one time where you're in 100% control. And
I
whether you're
agree.
in corporate America or an agent, it just doesn't happen typically except for early. So
It doesn't. Yeah, because you lose more control of your time and your day the later it gets.
yeah,
And
exactly.
a big component of this is when you say you're controlling it, you're controlling everything. What you're doing, what you're consuming, both auditory, visual, and liquid or food, right? Like you're controlling that, but you're
Right.
also controlling what you're looking at. So I think mindset is critical because in that morning time, you decide the mood that you're in, your goals, and your energy. And I do that through mindset and affirmations,
Mhm.
visualization process. If you start
So I
letting
use a couple
everyone,
different I use a couple of different tools. So a lot of it's to myself, but a lot of it's either journaling or some of my
Mhm.
publishing I've been doing regularly. I've never been one that's really had super great success in terms of any kind of meditation or whatever. But when I'm sitting there and I'm journaling, especially when I'm writing freehand, it
right,
lets my mind go. It gives me that peace.
right,
I don't think that it's one tool for everybody, but being alone, being still, and
agreed.
having some downtime.
There are different tools for different people. And it can be almost like trying on suits in a dressing room. You need to try them on to see which one is going to fit right and is going to suit you. And when you do that, you're able to control your mindset, which then in turn will control your decisions and your actions. The sad trap that I see so many of our colleagues and other people in other industries fall into is they wake up and guess what one of the first things they do is?
Fun.
Yep, yep,
Absolutely.
let me check email. Let me check social media. Let me check the news. What does that do for your mindset right out of the gate?
Well, one, it taxes you. You start with the email. The email is nothing more than somebody else's request of you. So
Yes,
it's very hard for you, if at all possible, for you to control the beginning of your day if you're just responding to other people's taxes on your time. And I do mean
correct.
that directly. It is a tax on your time.
I agree.
And then you also mentioned, social media or news. My friends know that we have plenty of fun with news and memes and everything, but my friends know that that doesn't start until afternoon. If you
Agreed.
send me a
Yeah,
news article before, I'm going to end up blocking you, or we're not going to have a fun conversation about it. And I've got
right.
all my close friends trained that that's the case. If
Yes,
it's not positive, don't put it in my WhatsApp. Don't put it in my text before
yes.
noon.
I live by that as well. So
Exactly.
we're talking about this morning. Is there any other element? I love that you brought up journaling or free writing. I also incorporate music into nearly every morning. Are there any other tools or platforms that you think someone should consider if they're looking to get a stronger routine down for their morning?
So, Freedom is a great tool, and there's other apps like that. What that does is it allows you to have a phone and block those things like a Facebook or whatever that you do not want the interruption for. So, my Freedom actually on Facebook is set that I don't look at Facebook until after 5 p.m. So that's a
Perfect.
little extreme, but other items are blocked until noon. And it
That's
just
great.
allows me to control that. So that's one. The other point I would want to make is, I'm not super rigid in terms of those releases and the mindset. And what I find myself is in counterbalance. If I've been going really, really hard, then it's more time for me to spend a little bit more time in the gym, maybe on my bike before I go to work and have a release that way. Whereas if I'm, been much more on the athletic side, then I'm going to counterbalance and that's when I'm going to write. But in different phases of where I am pushing on, one works better for me than others. Great books out there like the Miracle Morning and whatever. I've used that and used it religiously for over a year, and it's worked. It gives me those, kind of that balance or that kind of mindset to start there. But I've manipulated that into my own, and I use that
Me
counterbalance
too.
based upon where I am. But I would say
Right.
that's a great start for somebody who doesn't already have one. I'd say, adopt that for a full year. And then once you know that you've got that discipline of using it for a full year, let it flow into what exactly works for you and gives you the most energy in the period of time that you're in.
That's a great idea. I mean, it's going to give you that strong foundation. You're going to build the muscle, and then you can start tailoring the workout to suit you.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
whether it was my corporate or my agency business, and I've had, 30 years combined in those, I'm always in some season of counterbalance. So make sure that you adopt your your morning routine and those things that you're working in yourself to work into that counterbalance.
You bring up a good point, and I'm curious, how does this show up in your personal life? So, how does your morning routine, you've already shared some of the things you do with friends, but how does this strong morning routine and dedication to achieving the hardest things of the day in the morning, what kind of impact does that have on your inner circle or your family?
So in terms of the family, we're starting to be empty nesters. So getting things done early, one of the greatest rewards of my life now is being able to control my time so that Carrie, she'll have her tea and I'll have my coffee and just be able to do that after I've already had some wins for the day. And
Mhm.
then it just allows me to go off to work and just in a beautiful state and allows me to make sure that I'm ending my day, even more importantly, 9 times out of 10 by 6 p.m. So that everything is shut off. Um, and yeah.
So then you have great time in the evening.
Great time in the evening. And, one of the things I learned very early from a mentor, Paul Butterfield, if you're watching, was there is no real estate emergency.
Correct.
And when he was mentoring me, he wouldn't take my calls after 6 because he doesn't take client calls after 6. And, maybe that's extreme or not, but set a boundary, whether it's 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. or something. But especially to my agent friends, set that boundary. Your family is they're going to be the only ones that are there on your deathbed. I don't care how big the
That's right.
commission is. It's not worth it.
Agreed. That's absolutely right. And I learned
Mhm.
that as well. One of my early coaches, they said to me, in real estate, we don't have kidneys in a cooler that has to get on a helicopter or, little Johnny's not going to make it. That's not what we're dealing with in real estate. And so you can, and frankly, they also brought up that sometimes when an agent or any salesperson responds too quickly, they don't have the information and they can actually disrupt things more than taking that moment to reflect, digest, strategize, and then answer in a way that, makes sense for the situation. So, yeah, I hope that our colleagues really listen to that. And you are right. Your family is who's going to be there for you. And they should not be paying that penalty for decades, of not having your full presence with them.
Yeah, I went to a Craig Proctor seminar,
Hmm.
one of his guys, Todd Walters, about a decade ago. And the one thing I took away from that specific trip, and I'm always taking some things away, But if you wait 2 to 3 hours to solve a problem, one, you are put on a higher pedestal and that you're not reactionary. And two, most real estate problems, if you've got the right leverage in your life, are already solved before that two
Correct.
hours is up.
Correct.
Um,
Absolutely correct.
it
It
is,
happens
is,
over and over and over.
yes. Yeah. Too many agents are too immediately available, and that diminishes their status to their
Yes,
clients, to the other agents in the marketplace.
it does.
Take some
And
time,
and to
think
the
about things.
consumers.
100%.
Yeah. It's, value when you value your time, other people will as well. So, have that confidence to know when you're working and when you're not. Know that there may be exceptions and share that clearly with your family, but it's okay to have professional standards and boundaries for for the service you provide. So,
So,
I want to jump back to people that are not agreeing with what we're sharing. So they're saying, oh, it doesn't matter. I can lead generate in the afternoon. You know what? I take care of all of the. Do you have any other words you'd like to share with them with your experience, both in sales and in leadership? What else could you say to get through to them the power of the morning?
so the interesting thing is I've used a tool called Mojo for dialing myself and now with my agents. And I've got hundreds and hundreds or thousands of hours of data in there. And the thing is, you can see when the calls are made. It's really easy just to push a button in Mojo and make a call. The thing is, a majority of the calls happen between 8:30 and 11:30. We just get too busy. No matter how how many great intentions you have, the afternoon calls tend not to be made.
Correct.
Just get it done.
Just get it done.
Yeah.
Another mentor of mine, Gary Keller. I
Yes.
read the MREA book when I was still at Remax. So just talking about this, he has a theory, two theories I want to share if anyone is feeling conflicted about this. Your willpower is not on will call. That's what he says, right? He's like, and the highest deposit, the highest bank of willpower that you have for any human is in the morning. And so rather than jeopardizing the future of your business and your income and the experience of your clients, you're jeopardizing that if you wait and put things off till the afternoon. So you want to do it when you have the most available willpower. Typically, your energy level is also going to be at the highest. You're still fresh. You haven't been battered and beaten by the day. The last thing I want to share with him is he really advises that if you're in any sales position, that you find the new first every day. You identify the new, and then you take care of the existing. And typically, the time that you're going to spend finding the new is less than the time that you're going to be taking care of the existing. So you're still giving your current clients an absolutely amazing experience. Because if you have a routine and a ritual and you find the new in the morning and you do it in an hour to 2 hours, great. Then you have the rest of the day to take care of the current active clients as well as the existing under contract clients.
So that's particularly relevant right now because our market, DC market, is beginning a shift, and you probably are there as well.
Right.
And when you're talking with somebody that's maybe they've just been let down or they're new in the market, they know the market is getting a little bit shaky. Do they want to talk to the agents that's waited till 2 p.m. to talk to them? Or do they want to wait to the first one that's already called at 9 a.m. that they know it's a priority? So those guys
Yes,
that have the biggest problems, which is where we tend to have the easiest transactions when we're solving big problems,
that's right.
they're going to be ready in the morning, not the afternoon.
Right.
I'd also say, going back to your willpower and Gary's thoughts on that, great analogy for that for people to think of is nobody overeats at 10 a.m. in the morning. Nobody's
No,
on a diet breaks it at 10 a.m. You
that's
got to
right.
wait till 6, 7 o'clock before you're breaking out the cookies or whatever, maybe the afternoon, but nobody ever breaks a diet at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
So think about that. It's a great analogy. It's a good way just to cement it in your brain.
Yes, I agree. I was thinking about that now a little bit more in leadership and you're really cultivating success through others. You're impacting so many people's careers and you still feel that this is a key for you to show up as the best leader.
Yeah. So I started my leadership career actually by, being there on the ground, being the one in the office, making the calls, and then surrounding myself with others that either wanted to mimic me or self-selected out. And now we've just taken that to another level here with recruiting a number of agents in two different offices here. But it really starts with just demonstrating, like I do, we do, you guys do, and teaching them those habits. Is that kind of where you're going in terms of the question
Yeah.
you're asking? But yeah,
Yeah. It
it's
doesn't
just
change.
no, it's
It
getting
doesn't
down there
change.
and doing the hard work, showing them. And so, one of my great successes in the last year is taking an 18-year-old right out of high school. He called me, begged me to kind of come in and intern and mentorship. And I was like, okay. And he's 19 years old now, just turned 19 years old and did 9 transactions in a tough DC marketplace. We have a high average sales price. So he broke through I just talked with the guys over at G-Car, a local board. 73% of all people that are paying G-Car membership have done zero.
0.
Zero transactions. And I've got an 18 just turned 19-year-old guy who's getting up in the morning and getting it done.
Yeah. It's really incredible. It
Mhm.
really is. Well, I love that you're living this and that you are being that leader that is walking the walk, talking the talk, and being that inspiring role model in front of everyone who's around you. One of the things we didn't touch on yet is, are you also managing staff? So with your current position, do you have interactions with staff or is it really mainly with the sales team?
No, we definitely have staff. I could not do what I do without my staff. So my staff, I touch early in the morning, first thing in the morning. They kind of know what I'm trying to achieve. Most of the time, that is in a standing huddle.
Nice. I love
Sometimes
those.
it's a Zoom, but it's rarely that sit down unless it's Friday when we're starting to be strategic for the next week. I found that it's much more effective. Quick hint is to go to their desk, their workstation. When it's a one-on-one, as to have them into mind, it's much easier to get directly to the point. And it also shows that you care, that you're reaching out to them.
Nice. And do you have the same culture and expectation with the staff that they're also going to do the hardest things first?
Absolutely. And
Okay,
that
excellent.
is a work in process because I've hired one of them, 3 of them are people that I've inherited, and we're doing well with most of them. It's very much like I talked about earlier. It's like demonstrate and they start to come along for the ride. And quite frankly, we had one that didn't want to come along with the ride, and we released
Yeah,
her to the marketplace. It's
great.
yeah,
Yeah, it's good. It's a
there's a
win-win
home
for
for
everyone.
everybody.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that everybody's productive in this marketplace because it sets the standards for our agents as well.
Jeff, I would love your expertise and action steps that you could share, particularly with younger agents. So this young new talent in our industry that really want to make it out of the gate, right? They want to make, or an experienced agent that wants to relaunch and reclaim heights maybe that they've lagged behind. So what action steps could you give them to really take advantage of the power of the morning and having the right steps in place to be successful?
Great question. And I would say that's twofold. So I like to do the old, and it hasn't been talked about for a while, but it's a book that I have not gotten away from. It's Simon Sinek's. It's the Start With Why. So I try to mold our brand new agents, our newer agents, and even those that are 3 or 4 years in. Let's get back and figure out what your why is. And most of them don't know. And then I've given them a formula. I got into this business. A lot of could get into for a superficial reason. So, for example, I got into this because I wanted to buy a $700,000 home for my primary residence. Well, that's really why the kind of the overlying, but what was deeper in that? And then when you start asking, they'll come up with it. So I got this 700,000 as my goal, but what I found was I was really impacting people's days, lives,
Yes.
and building wealth for them, helping them build wealth. And that's become my why. That's become my passion. So once we've established that, they realized after a few months of this business what they're really achieving for others. We start to lean into that. And then it's coming back and using that as the power to make sure, or the fuel to make sure that they're building a steady business. The steady business comes with at least 3 legs. So I'm coaching all my agents. I don't care how long you've been in the business. We need 3 legs. We've got a shifting market. If you have one, you are very likely to be disintermediated or have some really tough months coming up. So
Agreed.
we're making sure everybody has three-legged or more. Some of my agents have 12 different lead sources, but everybody's got to have 3 or they've got to come up with them.
Yeah. And even the people with 12, if we did the analytics, I'm sure that there are 3 clear top performers. And then, onesie twosies or, other performers with the other 9. So having the 3 primary that consistently produce leads, you know what else I think that does? It gives you an appropriate guideline of how much time you should spend cultivating business from those sources. So I'm sure you and I know big data shows that in our industry, for a successful agent that has consistent sales, somewhere around 65% comes from people they know and people that are already identified or in their database. Around 75% will come from what I call unmets, or we call unmets, so
Sure.
that,
I use the same terminology. I read the
correct, right.
Red Book many, many
Yeah,
times.
yeah, yeah, right. And so what's funny to me is how often people will spend 65% of their time on the unmets and sometimes no time at all on the database or their mets. Okay, I was about to say 35%, and I was like, Bridget, you're being generous. Right. But so when you really look at it, and especially, I know you and I are passionate about helping that new generation of agents that are coming in. So in particular, if you're 18 to 23, please listen to this. Spend the commensurate amount of time. So if you're getting 60% of the business from Mets, spend around 60% of your lead generation and lead follow-up in that category, and then break it down, and you can, as you develop, you'll get very nuanced and very skilled in it. Uh, that is a way, Jeff, tell me if you agree.
No, I 100% agree. And I have a different frame to the end of that, or my and
Perfect.
to that would be a lot of people, the younger guys are seeing different tools, different platforms that they want to purchase leads from.
Yes,
And I'm a big believer that first 24 transactions should be coming from free sources, from open house, from your sphere, from networking. Like they're all free sources until you get over
for sale
24
by owners,
transactions. For sale
and
by owners.
expireds. Yeah,
Yeah. And building it with
yeah,
at least 3 different sources. I've got one
agreed.
guy that I've been coaching really hard, over 7 million, but he's only open houses. Like, we can give you a double if you just work a second source. Like, we know that more can come from your sphere than can come from open house in a shorter
Right.
period of time. Let's add a second source.
Yes. Yes. And if you need to, if you're feeling overwhelmed, layer it in. So, for
Yes.
example, that open house guy, okay, great. Can we just add in this one additional thing? And then, 2 months, add in one more additional thing. So don't make it overwhelming.
So,
But the,
our cadence of adding a leg is typically a 90-day period. So breaking
right.
our years down into 4 different years within one big year and adding a different source those first 3 or 4 mini years, the 12-week years.
I like how you said you want at least the first 24 deals to come from what I'm just going to call organic efforts, that where you found it and you cultivated it yourself. That's a great measurable. That's something that someone can actually track and measure and say, like, okay, I did that. Now, do I want to introduce in something like a paid lead source, which you and I both know? You sell 24 homes through your own efforts and you have that high profit margin. Your likelihood of spending money on someone else's leads, that you're probably not going to do it. You're going to
Right.
build that foundation.
And when I look at my network, both in my agency and other folks that I know across mostly the East Coast, it's typically costing $3,500 or more to create a sale. The cost of acquisition is about $3,500 for every new sale. That
Yeah,
really cuts in, especially when
it
you haven't
definitely cuts
maximized
in.
your database.
Well, this has been phenomenal. I could talk about this stuff with you for hours. I think that we could take this on the road. We could have a road show.
Yes.
And I'm thrilled. Donovan, the young man that you shared about with the sales, he's actually going to be a guest on the Inner Estate. So anyone listening,
Excellent.
I hope that you will catch that episode.
I'm
Um,
looking forward to you grilling him.
and I hope that you come back and be a guest again.
Absolutely. I'm
Yeah,
sure we got some other topics that we would both enjoy deep diving into. So I'd love
for
that.
sure. So currently, again, just to remind everyone where you are and who you are. So Jeff Wheatley, Vice President and Century 21 New Millennium.
Century 21 New Millennium here in DC and
Yeah,
Rockville, servicing
yeah,
that kind of Montgomery County into DC, a little bit of Prince George's County.
right.
Got 70 great agents running through here through Northern Virginia. If I can't personally service it, I've got great agents that will help you.
It's
Anything
really
you need, please
fantastic.
reach out.
Yeah, and I'm going to have all your contact information in the description. Just because some people are listening and not looking, what's the easiest way to reach out to you? Instagram, Facebook, email?
Facebook Messenger is probably the best.
Perfect.
I'm easy to see on there.
Yeah. Yeah, we're both easy to find. So thank you so much for being our guest, and I hope any of you listening will come and join us again on the next episode of The Inner Estate. Have a great day.
Bridget, thank you. It's been a sincere pleasure.